My name is Fernando Ganosa, and I'm going to be presenting Atico Mining Corporation. There we go. So Atico was formed by a group of skilled developers, builders, and operators of mines with a clear mandate to become a mid-tier producer in the copper and gold space. We're looking for high-grade, high-margin assets in Latin America, and we currently have two assets. One in Colombia is an operating mine, generating a healthy cash flow. It's been in operation for over 30 years. It's a high-grade copper and gold VMS. The second asset is a developing VMS, also high-grade, in Ecuador. And the good thing about these two assets is that they're VMSs surrounded by a large land package that we control and we believe is very prospective to find other VMSs. So we have the ability to generate good cash from these assets, but also we have the exploration upside that comes from these types of deposits. Before diving into the details of these two assets, let's have a corporate overview. We have 121 million shares outstanding, no warrants. We have a very strong balance sheet with 30 million in working capital. We have 18 million in cash at the end of Q1, and we have available credit for close to 10 million from local banks in Colombia to fuel the growth of the company. In terms of ownership, the founders, along with insiders, own 18% of the company, so we do have a lot of skin in the game. We have 30% owned by institutions, and the remainder is a retail component. So diving into El Roble mine, El Roble has been in operation, as I mentioned, for 30 years. It's a 1,000 ton per day underground operation, producing a very clean concentrate. We produce about 17 to 18 million pounds of copper per year and from 11,000 to 13,000 ounces of gold per year at a very competitive cash cost. For this year, about 135 to 140 per pound of copper net of byproducts. As I mentioned, the VMS we are mining from is surrounded by a large land package, over 6,600 hectares, and is the main focus of our exploration efforts in Colombia. Just to give you a sense of what we can generate from El Roble, what you have here is that, or what you had, okay, Rich. Well, I can tell you we're generating a lot of cash. So, this is the trailing 4 quarters. So from Q1 of 2021 until Q1 of 2022, we have generated significant cash from operations and free cash that flows through to free cash. As you can see, a very competitive cash cost, a very good and healthy margin with these copper and gold prices. And we have a 3-year life of mine in terms of reserves. Now, as we're gonna see, later in the presentation, actually I think it's the next slide, there is potential to find more. We have all the geological evidence that we can continue replacing what we mine. And that's the focus of our exploration at the El Roble mine itself. This is a long section of El Roble mine. And what you can see here are the mineralized pods that we're mining from, and they're following a plunge to the east. Now, we have been successful in following that plunge at depth and replacing ore. What has happened at this point is that at a lower known level, we're finding 2 main faults that we believe have displaced mineralization below this level. And our focus this year and next is to find those displaced blocks that we believe are there and have been moved around. And our goal is to then find those to not only replace what we're mining, but hopefully extend the life of mine as well. And keep in mind, this operation has been ongoing for 30 years. Now, in terms of the regional exploration, as I mentioned, we have 6,600 hectares surrounding El Roble mine. You can see El Roble mine more or less at the center of that picture. What you see there are the claims that we own. Those are the 6,600 hectares that we own. And we have a 10-kilometer favorable regional contact that goes through those 6,600 hectares. We have identified 21 targets we want to drill test looking for other VMSs. We have drilled about 6, and we have found very interesting things. For instance, a large pyrite massive sulfide. Granted, it has no economic values, but it clearly shows magmatic activity in the area, and it's a hot area to find other VMS deposits. So we really want to drill all those targets that are remaining, hoping that we're going to find one or more VMSs. And that's the business case at El Roble. We have a very strong cash generator in the El Roble operation, and we have the upside looking for other VMSs and also replacing ore at the El Roble mine. So it's very straightforward, and so far it has been very good for us, in particular at these metal prices. Now, moving on to La Plata, this is our asset in Ecuador. It's in a development stage. Now, La Plata also has a large land package surrounding it. It's more or less the same setting as El Roble. It's also very high grade, more polymetallic in nature, but most of the revenue will come from copper and gold. Anyway, I want to highlight also here that it's refreshing to operate in a jurisdiction where the government is supporting its narrative to accelerate mining to diversify the economy with actions, clear actions that mining companies are taking advantage of at this point. For instance, we recently received in record time the authorization for the environmental impact study, which is one of the key permits to get this asset into operation. So this is what we have at La Plata. We have 2 million tons of very high-grade ore, as I mentioned, more polymetallic in nature, but translating that on a gold equivalent basis, it's easier to then catch up the magnitude of the higher grade. It's about 13 grams per ton equivalent. Now, this is information from the PEA, and those were inferred. In the past year and a half, we have been infill drilling to migrate those tons into measured and indicated, and I shall say with a very good conversion ratio, both in terms of tons and in terms of grade. So we are very satisfied with what is going on at La Plata. Also, we don't know the limits of the deposit yet. And the reason being is that for us, it's expensive and time-consuming to drill from the surface, trying to understand what's below these two bodies. The rationale for us, the thesis for us is once we're mining, once we're developing the mine from underground, it's going to be faster and a lot cheaper to find out where the rest of the mineralization is. We believe there's a high likelihood we're going to be able to find more. The question for us is how much more? Now, we should have a feasibility study ready before the end of Q3 of this year, and we are hoping for next year, in the second half of the year, we are going to be fully permitted to have a construction decision for this asset. It's moving very fast towards production. Now, beyond the VMS itself, we own 22,000 hectares, 2,200, sorry about that, hectares surrounding the VMS. This is just showing the north part of the VMS. And what you can see here is that clearly there are other occurrences of massive sulfide north of the known VMS. So for instance, we have a hole that hit 22 meters at 1.8% copper. We have another hole in another area that hit 7 meters at 7% copper. We also have trenches that are coming back with rock sampling at 24 grams per ton of gold. So there's for sure something interesting going on in the north part of our claims. And the second half of this year and next year, we're going to put a lot of emphasis in figuring out what's going on there and what other mineralizations we can find. So this is what we have. We have two assets that can generate very good cash flow with upside exploration potential and a team of people with a very good track record in terms of developing, building, and operating mines. We're also at the same time very active in the M&A front. We're looking for our third asset currently. Right now, we are on the process of finishing due diligence on two assets in Latin America, one in production, one that's near production. So we believe we have a very good growth pattern in front of us that can take advantage of metal prices in the coming years. So thank you very much.